We have those names switched up. We'll get that straightened out for you. He's going to be taking on Syed, playing Nyalome. Bant Control, Craig, not an archetype we've seen all that much of in Legacy. Jerry Thompson, I think he's cast off this label over the years, but someone who dominated Legacy, if you go back 7 or 8 years to the early days of the SCG Tour, just absolutely crushed for a very long time, often playing strategies that looked somewhat like this, without all these snow permanents, of course, but leaning very hard on things like Baleful Strix. Mm-hmm. Jerry found a new Baleful Strix for himself. He's playing Icefang Coatl, 4 copies of that card in this Bant Control list.
Yeah, and when we went up to Syracuse and we watched a bunch of Legacy up there, you know, we had talked about these evolutions in these decks and how a lot of these control decks, to me, fall into the category of being the new Miracles decks. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the same shell. You've got all your Force of Wills and Brainstorms, your powerful Planeswalkers, and you just decide that you don't need the Miracles anymore.
Right.
But you're still almost the exact same deck playing that control role.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting evolution of the archetype, and I am here for it. I really like the look of this deck.
I do hate a snow permanent.
I know. There's going to be a lot of snow permanents here, Craig. Jerry's starting things off with an Arcum's Astrolabe. Over on Zan's side, ideal start, Elvish Reclaimer on turn 1. Take a look at Jerry's deck over on Cardboard Live. You'll see there's no Wastelands. In fact, there's only 2 dual lands in this deck. Interesting that dual lands becoming less prevalent by the proliferation of Arcum's Astrolabe, maybe making the format a little bit more affordable for some people. That's a nice little upside. Don't mind seeing that.
Yeah, the converse to that is just the homogenation of things, right?
Right. Right. Well, here is the first Wasteland from Zan. It's going to take out Jerry's Tropical Island.
And it is kind of funny how you just said only 2 dual lands in this deck, and
right.
Jerry immediately gets snapped off for one of his lands.
Still manages to lose a land. Feels bad, man. Here's a Brainstorm from Thompson. 2 cards back on the top of the library. Elvish Reclaimer going to rumble through. Second Elvish Reclaimer joining the party. That's going to be met with a Force of Will. Pitching to Ferry.
Oh, Jerry's Force of Wills.
Jerry with those custom altars on those Force of Wills. I know he paid a lot to get those done.
Yeah, he went quite the artist for those,
right.
Didn't he?
Yep.
Jerry's list is a little wild to me here. Just the only 2 Snapcaster Mages.
Yep. 2 Snapcasters in the deck. Here's a Green Sun Zenith 4-1 from Zan after an Elvish Reclaimer attack. That's going to go get probably another Elvish Reclaimer.
Now, this deck from Jerry, just I feel like you're asking to just pick up draws in this event.
Well, I would be. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
That's my forte, is picking up draws.
Well, part of what you're doing is just you're really depending on your opponent conceding the game when they're good and dead, like when they're out of chances to actually win the game.
Right.
And not making you play it out, because
not many pure win conditions there.
Well, yeah, so we got 4 Icefang Coatl, 2 Snapcaster Mages, 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor. I don't think you can win the game outside of those cards.
Nope, that's it. That is it.
So telling your opponent they've got to attack you, kind of 20 times with their 1/1 flyer.
Slow and steady.
It's a recipe for draws.
Here is a Council's Judgment on that additional copy of Reclaimer. Jerry sees keeping those under control as a critical part of his game plan here. Zan does have an active Reclaimer, though. Jerry tapped out. Zan, Ren and 6 in hand. Not super powerful here. Jerry with all those basics, meaning he's not going to get Wasteland locked. But still, that ultimate threatening for sure.
Yeah, the ultimate isn't too crazy out of this deck. But I think just the extra resources, when you want to be cashing in lands to your Elvish Reclaimer every turn, just making sure that you always have a land drop.
Yeah, never missing. Looks like that Ren and 6 is going to resolve.
And the Planeswalkers are troublesome cards for Jerry to get off of the board.
Yeah, Council's Judgment, really the best way to do so. One of those already spent. Jerry takes his draw. Looking at a Teferi Time Raveler in hand, as well as another Council's Judgment, I believe.
That's what it looks like.
What's the priority for Thompson? Looks like it's Council's Judgment on that Ren and 6. Do have our first result. Bertariaoni taking down Nick Prince in that Golos mirror. Bertariaoni up a game with the Fires version of Golos.
Calling it Fires Golos, like I almost want to call it Wish Golos.
I like that. I just took to my Twitter account, Craig, because I always let my followers know the hottest tech available. I said if I had to register for a tournament right this second, right now, I would play Bant Golos, 3 copies, Fae of Wishes, no Fires. I think Fae of Wishes looks incredible in the archetype.
All right, I hope you're registering for a standard event.
Yeah, that's probably the safest thing to do.
But yeah, I agree. The Fae of Wishes is one of those cards where you only want to find one copy because you can bounce back your hand and wish over and over that way. It's a card that you don't really want on turn 2 consistently, so you don't necessarily want to play the full 4. And all of these Golos decks just look at so many cards.
Sure.
That I feel like you're going to be able to find it.
Funny little interaction there. Zan cast a Green Sun Zenith X's 1, went searching through the deck, realized there were no Reclaimers left, had to go grab Dryad Arbor instead. Didn't matter, though. Next play was going to be Teague. And Teague does come down. Meanwhile, here's Teferi. That's going to minus on that Reclaimer.
Ooh.
Return it back to hand. And Karakas is the follow-up here for Thompson.
And from Jerry's side of the board, it feels like he's so close.
Right.
But just very behind the 8 ball every single turn.
Needs to find that resource generator at this stage, I think. Here comes Dryad Arbor and Gaddock Teague. Arbor's going to kill Teferi. Teague going to bring Thompson down to 7. And we're back in Zan's second main phase. Has that bounce Reclaimer in hand. Zan going to draw a card from Horizon Canopy. So he found a Thespian stage. Just going to redeploy that Reclaimer.
Man, Jerry not even playing any Wrath effects in his main deck.
Nope, no Wraths in the main. Does have some in the sideboard. Supreme Verdict. Karakas going to go ahead and bounce that Gaddock Teague. Now Thompson facing down Reclaimer and Dryad Arbor. Swords to Plowshare is going to answer Reclaimer.
That was an important one.
Yeah, 1 card left in hand for Thompson. I think it's a Snapcaster Mage. I'm not 100% sure. Snapcaster Mage would be huge if it is. Jerry going to fall to 6. Patience is a virtue playing these legacy control decks. Zan going to go ahead, play Thespian Stage. 4 mana tapped. Green Sun Zenith for 3. We know what that's going to go get. Knight of the Reliquary enters the battlefield. Huge threat from Zan Syed.
Yeah, and I like this line. Obviously, the Gaddock Teague is just going to be bounced over and over.
Yep. Jerry going to pass the turn back to Zan. I'm no longer convinced that's a Snapcaster Mage in hand. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Yeah, I would think that it would have happened already if it was a Snapcaster
Might be a
Mage.
Force of Will, possibly. Really not sure.
Well, that would make sense why he deployed his 5th land.
Right.
I was thinking that it might have been a mistake playing the basic instead of the fetch land, because if he draws a Brainstorm, he cannot shuffle away the extra land in his hand. But if he's got a Force of Will, he's definitely going to cast it on this Gaddock Teeg, right?
Sure.
So it would make sense in that way.
Here's Knight of the Reliquary activation. That's going to get Wasteland. That's going to go ahead and hit that Caracas.
Ooh, and now the Force of Will's offline again.
If that is what the card is.
If it is a Force of Will.
Here's Gaddock Teeg again.
Oh, that's a heads-up play from Zan. Oh, no, you let him float a mana?
Right, go to the second.
Oh, Zan, you had it.
That is a misstep, to be sure. You had already given the compliment, too.
Yeah.
You spoke too soon, Craig.
Yeah, I really like the line he took.
Well, here's a Blast Zone. I think it's unlikely to matter, barring a miracle off the top here. And there are no actual miracles in Jerry's deck.
Yeah, but you have that Gaddock Teeg on the board. You're turning off Jace, which is his best draw.
Right. I guess Snapcaster Mage is like fine here. It's like Astrolabe maybe was the draw. Quaddle. Huh.
All right, that's actually a good one.
Yeah, Jerry thinking about what he wants to do as far as timing goes is going to just cast it now. Draws a card. Swords to Plowshares.
That's so strange to me that he cast it now. With the opponent having the Blast Zone, I'm surprised he didn't try to... You know, you pass the turn if the opponent doesn't put counters on the Blast Zone.
Yeah.
You get to punk him in combat.
So what is he playing towards by doing it now? Drawing like Narset, Teferi.
Well, he drew the swords, which he had to draw in answer to this knight, right?
Teferi.
Teferi.
Teferi is a reason to just deploy it then. But yeah, obviously it sets up this play. We do know Jerry has an answer in the form of Swords to Plowshares. Gonna buy a little bit more time, just living off the top of the deck now. Zan's gonna gain a bunch of life. Don't like to be that guy, but Jerry should be at 2 right now. There should be a Gaddock Teeg on the battlefield.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Let's see if that's going to come back to bite Zan. Plays the Wooded Foothills. Jerry takes a draw. Needs some help.
And it's also a little interesting. So Zan's had a Swords to Plowshares in his hand most of this game.
Mm-hmm.
So he had the option there to use the Swords to Plowshares instead of the Blast Zone.
Right.
And I think I would have liked that line because Blast Zone can clean up a Planeswalker if it comes down.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
It's just a more versatile card.
Jerry falls to 3 here. Action back on Zan. Looks like Knight of Autumn going to be the play from Zan. It's a 1-of in the main. Presents a potentially lethal threat. Jerry drew Prismatic Vista, Astrolabe. Time for redraws. What do we find? Draws. Brainstorm.
More draws.
More redraws. 3 cards. Swords to Plowshares, Narset. Swords to Plowshares gets another turn. This is getting close, Craig.
Oh, man.
This one's getting close now.
Well, and Jerry's just been hanging on every turn just by the tips of his fingers.
Look, that's what this deck has to do. I mean, it's kind of built that way. That's the way you play your games, for better or for worse.
And it feels like even if he stabilizes, it's going to be so hard for him to win from there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Zan takes a draw. Here's another Swords to Plowshares on that Knight of Autumn. Zan going to go up to 33. Jerry falls down to 2. Does Zan have additional pressure? I see 2 lands and a Swords to Plowshares.
And I don't like waiting. Jerry there waiting on his Swords to Plowshares when you definitely have to cast it. I think he should just play it on his own turn. There's random problem cards like a Sagiri Step, where potentially if Zan has a crop rotation in his deck, and he draws it, and he can just Tajiri step to save his guy.
Okay.
You know, there's, to me, I don't see a lot of reason to wait.
See what you're saying? Here's Narset. Looks like we have responses to that Narset. We're going to copy the Dryad Arbor, present lethal on the next turn.
I like that.
Makes sense. But Jerry going to go fishing, finds a Snapcaster Mage. Can't get that with Narset. Yeah, I don't think this has any answers.
Nope.
Yeah, and Jerry just going to go ahead and pack it in. And very narrowly, despite maybe a little bit of a misstep, Syed going to be able to take down game 1, meaning his team now has a 2-game advantage as we get ready for a little sideboard action. There you see the sideboards for both these players. We can start over on Zan's side. 3 Leyline of the Void, 3 Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, 2 Choke, 2 Force of Vigor, 2 Thorn of Amethyst, a Collector Oof, a Pyroblast, and a Red Elemental Blast. What are you doing if you're over on Zan's side?
So Zan's sideboard is quite good for this matchup. He has a lot of options that he can go to here. The Chokes, the Pyroblast, and the Red Elemental Blast, all very tempting. If Jerry's up on the Choke strategy, if he wants to play around that, he can search for a lot of basic planes,
right,
and then filter the mana through the Astrolabe.
Of course.
But Choke is still just a problem card for him going along in the games. And then I also like the possibility of Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. When you're the aggressor, just jamming your opponent up on mana is pretty effective strategy.
Yeah, against these decks with a lot of cantrips, I really do like using these tax effects, making them pay a little bit more. Meanwhile, over on Jerry's side, we are looking at 2 Crop Rotation, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Veil of Summer, a Bajuka Bog, 1 Force of Negation, 1 Hydroblast, 1 Narset, Parter of Veils, 1 of everyone's favorite removal spell, Patch to Exile, 1 Return to Nature, 1 Supreme Verdict, 1 Tarmogoyf, and finally 1 Vendilion Click. What do you want to do if you're on Jerry's side, besides the obvious Patch to Exile, just a huge card in this matchup?
Well, and it is named that because it patches a hole in your strategy.
Correct.
You're vulnerable to creatures, just patch that up.
Yeah, patch it right up.
So I do like the Patch to Exile. I like the Supreme Verdict a lot. And then, I would bring in the Tarmogoyf here. It just comes up the ground. It gives him a clock where he can actually finish off games. So I like that card a lot, too.
Yeah, Jerry just kind of ate it to random beaters that game. That was the real problem, just taking persistent damage across every single turn of the game, and maybe just having something to brickwall that is the way he's going to want to go.
Well, and just getting wastelanded on turn 2, I think, was really important in that game, where it slowed Jerry down enough, and Zan was able to get a few threats on the board and chip away at his life total.
Right. An interesting game 1. Interesting deck from Jerry Thompson. I'm certainly going to want to hear more about this deck. And I have a feeling you could probably find it over on Star City Games Premium. You become a premium member today, receive instant access to exclusive benefits, including exclusive content written by Jerry Thompson and also myself, but we know you're here for the Jerry Thompson content. You get the ad-free experience. You get a 5% discount on SCG purchases. Head over to go.starcitygames.com/premium. Check that out today.
And it's Subtober, right?
No, Craig, we are not doing Subtober anymore.
What about my free subs?
Subs were never free. That was something you literally made up.
Is that why I got...
That's why I had to pull you out of that subway when you were almost in an altercation.
That's why I got arrested that one time, yeah.
Yes, things got very ugly. Craig refusing to just not accept that September was what he thought it was. Nobody ever told him it was about free subs.
No, it's definitely about free subs.
No, it's not. Nope. Again, a strict refusal to deal with reality on Craig's part. It's gotten him into some trouble as far as September went.
But we're all straightened out now that we've moved into...
Now that it's Subtober, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Free subs.
Yeah, all that stuff has been straightened out.
Yep.
And I look forward to joining you at the Subway tonight for our free subs.
I'm in.
Nowhere else I bet you could hear about this crazy new Legacy deck that Jerry's playing? Probably on the Arena Decklist podcast.
Oh,
I'm just
there's the
guessing.
plug.
I'm just guessing. I mean,
there
look,
it is.
He's right here. He's playing the deck. Like, I'm sure people want to know more about it.
Why does he not have an Arena Decklist t-shirt?
That is a good question, and I am angry with him now. I have an extra one in my room.
The
I'm
two
going
of
to
you,
grab that real quick. Give me a moment, Craig. I'll be back.
if we called the two of you bosom buddies, would that be an accurate?
Well, I don't know the connotations of that phrase. Like, what does that actually mean?
Oh, best buds.
Yeah, we're close. We spend a lot of time together.
2 peas in a pod.
We make a lot of YouTube content. We make podcasts. We write for Star City. Talk about Magic a bunch.
Occasional finger painting.
Yeah, finger painting's definitely, always on the agenda. We're ready to get started here in Game 2. Thompson going to lead off just Arkham's Astrolabe. Fixing the mana. That's it. No more mana problems. They're all solved.
Yep.
For the rest of the game, it was just that easy. Syed going to go ahead and cycle this Tranquil Thicket. Take a look at a new card. Blast Zone in hand. And there's a green Sun Zenith. Happy to see that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Jerry's just inviting the wasteland again.
Mm-hmm. Go for it. I dare you. Blast Zone is the play from Zan. Follow up Green Sun. Zan, of course, doesn't know Jerry's list. Has to ask, is there days? You would assume no. This is a more controlling approach. Unlikely to pick up days, but...
Yeah, he saw a decent number of cards that first game.
Yeah.
And when you see Narset and you don't see, Delver of Secrets...
Here's Sylvan Library. This is a big play from Zan.
Yeah, this is huge.
Access to persistent card advantage. Jerry going to respond with Coatl. Draws a card. Assuming looking for Force of Will, and found it. I already had at least one. Maybe needed a blue card, maybe not. I guess you could pitch Coatl if you wanted to. But either way, Sylvan Library not going to resolve here. What does Jerry have for a follow-up? It's Ponder. Take a look at those top 3. Swords to Plowshares, Crop Rotation. Don't like any of them. They're going back.
The old Shuffleupagus. Tell me, were you around when the custom altar happened to these Force of Wills?
So I believe that happened at GP Seattle. I was in the building. I was not present, though, when they were being altered.
Okay, what's the story behind that?
I don't know if we want to talk about the story.
Oh, that's not appropriate for the air?
Well, there are some artists in Magic that hold some problematic views.
Okay.
That Jerry and others and myself object to for sure. And Jerry didn't want to display that art anymore, so he took it upon himself to do some custom altars of Force of Will.
All right.
Is that a fair explanation?
Yes, So it seemed like you were going to skirt the answer?
No, I'll give you the answer.
Then you didn't, and I was fine either way.
Okay. Now you know the full story, Craig.
Yep.
Knight of the Reliquary on Zan's side.
Why doesn't he have originals? How about that?
Are they by the same artist?
I don't even know.
I think they are. I'm pretty sure they are. Jerry's going to play a land, pass back to Zan. Now that Knight of the Reliquary is active.
Oof. This is a good one.
A lot of lands in Jerry's hand. I think 3 lands and a spell. Zan going to take the opportunity to try and resolve a Renin 6. Yeah, I think it's just a 3rd copy of Force of Will in Jerry's hand alongside 3 lands.
Yeah, and I feel like game 1 and this game, we haven't seen the cycle of cantrips that we're used to seeing out of the blue decks where they're able to chain a Brainstorm into a Ponder, into all of the juicy cards that they want.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy given, think about the plays Jerry has made. It's Astrolabe, Isang Coatl, Ponder. All these cards have an element of either self-replacement or self-selection. Jerry did draw a Snapcaster Mage here. Wouldn't be surprised if he just thinks he needs to cast this and play a Ponder. Needs to improve the quality of his hand for sure.
Yeah, and this is just so awkward into the face of that Renin 6.
It's also awkward into the face of this Knight of the Reliquary, which will respond to this Snapcaster Mage. And I bet it's Bajuka Bog time.
Yeah, we're definitely bogging him up. Jerry just walked right into a quagmire with this one.
All right. There is the Bajuka Bog. That's going to get rid of the graveyard, meaning Snapcaster Mage not getting any value here. Follow-up plays Basic Island, passes the turn back to Zan.
And it's not going to be able to pressure the Wrenn and 6 either. If you wait till the end of the opponent's turn, at least you get an attack step.
Well, you lose access to the Ponder, though. And
yes.
I think Jerry's just thinking like Ponder or bust at that point.
Yep.
His hand needed to get better. Wrenn and 6 going to plus. Get back that Tranquil Thicket.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised with the extra copy of Wrenn and 6.
No minus there?
Yeah, I'm surprised. You can pick off the 2/1, then you cast your second Wrenn and 6. If it gets countered for some reason, you're like, okay, I still have a Wrenn and 6 on the board.
Yep.
And if it doesn't get countered, you're like, all right, I'm going to tick up to even higher loyalty and get my land back then.
I think it was worth considering. Zan going to play it this way, though. I guess this makes some sense as well. Now this Reclaimer's online as a blocker. Knight of the Reliquary still sitting there. Going to be hard for the Snapcaster Mage to really do anything meaningful in this game.
It is.
About the best thing you could do with it is rebuy with Teferi.
Oh, and another land off the top for Jerry?
Yeah, not good times for Thompson. Just going to play a Prismatic Vista, pass the turn back. Zan going to cycle this Tranquil Thicket.
What a world we live in where the green deck is the deck that's looking at more cards and drawing more cards every turn.
Crazy stuff, right?
Controlling the board with its Planeswalker.
Right.
So I think Zan is a little reticent to send his creatures into the face of a Quaddle out of Jerry's hand.
Sure. Card great at instilling an element of fear in your opponent.
But if that's what he's really worried about, he could have upped Blast Zone to 2.
Here's Thorn of Amethyst. It's a little late for this card.
That's a card that I don't think I would have even sided in.
Mm-hmm. So you like Thalia, but you don't like Thorn.
So I like Thalia because it's pressure.
Right.
And Thorn, it's just this Augur card that's going to have no impact at this point in the game.
Jerry is going to go ahead and burn the Force of Will on it.
A little bit surprising.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like if you're thinking about how you pull yourself out of this game, it probably involves a flurry of spells at some point.
It does. Even if he draws Jace and then brainstorms with it, he needs to be able to cast
one
or two spells off of the brainstorm.
I think so.
Well, that does, opens Zan up to get a big attack in here.
Yeah. It looks like Knight 4/4 is my read on it. So Jerry going to take a little bit of damage, takes his draw. Found a Swords to Plowshares.
Yes, and he's got... I'm a little surprised.
Doesn't like it.
So I think with the Reclaimer up, he's saying, all right, Zan is protected by tutoring for Sejiri Step, so I can't just get a Swords to Plowshares here.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go tutoring for something else.
Looks like we drew Vendilion Click. On the turn, just going to head back to Zan. Every time I see this Naya deck, I'm impressed. I think this is a strong matchup for the Naya deck, I'll say that.
Yes. No, but I agree with you. It gets so much value out of all of its cards, where the creatures that it uses to tutor up its controlling elements are also threats to attack the opponent.
Yep.
Everything is fairly inexpensive, and it's very consistent in what it does.
Absolutely.
And like I was saying, for not being a blue deck, this is all very, very impressive stuff.
A lot of options with this deck. Do you know the meme name of this deck, Craig?
I don't even know what a meme is. So,
okay. A fair answer. This deck often called Shrek the Musical.
Shrek the Musical.
Yeah, and this will tell you exactly how cool I am. I am precisely cool enough to know that and not cool enough to have any idea why.
Okay.
So that's all the information I have for you.
So my wife being a musician and into musical theater, maybe I'll give her a phone call after this round and she can make us both cooler and less cool at the exact same time.
Hopefully she can clear this up for us. I mean, I think it's like there's a swamp. There's in like Bajuka Bog.
Sure, green creatures.
And I don't know. There's not really a donkey, is there?
I mean, right now that's us.
Right. We are the donkeys for having seen this.
Sure.
Well, here's a Vendilion Click. That's going to come down end of turn. Maybe clean up that Ren and 6 problem. That's good.
But these green Sun Zeniths are still just so good.
Yeah, and there's a second Ren and 6 in hand.
Yeah, he's got to take the Ren and 6.
I think so. Zan going to get a replacement draw here. And now we are back on Jerry's turn, where he will draw another land.
Of course he will. What else would it be?
Land number 8 and 9 now in hand. Going to go ahead and clean up that Ren and 6. That's step 1.
Yep, and he does have the Caracas Vendilion Click going on here.
Something. Just don't think it lines up all that great against what's presently going on Zan's side.
No, not great, but it's something.
Thompson also down to 10 life. Starting to feel the pressure from these beaters. Zan senses that, says it's time to go get Dryad Arbor. Add to my motley collection.
Time to put my foot on the gas.
Right.
1-1.
Right. Time to get aggressive. Dryad Arbor.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised he didn't get a Wasteland there just to clean up the Caracas.
Over in our standard matchup, things are all square. 1 game apiece. Fires Golos versus Bant Golos.
Yeah, I knew Golos was going to do well.
Yeah, I had a feeling Golos was going to find a way to pull it out.
How many times we're going to make those bad jokes this weekend?
Forever.
Yeah, well, I just mean with the number of Golos mirrors we're going to see.
I am leaning into it as hard as possible.
Lots of opportunities there.
Zan thinking about some attacks here. Feeling a little froggy maybe. Looking to get that big Knight of the Reliquary in the mix.
Let's get aggressive here.
Oh, Ren and 6.
Oh, man.
Still had all these Ren and 6. What's it going to look to do here? I'm assuming tick up.
Yeah, it's a little strange that he deployed this before attacking.
Yeah.
Like, he can't go after the click because of the Caracas?
He's going to minus anyway. Jerry's going to say, okay, Caracas.
And I wonder if Zan just kind of missed this.
I think he just missed. I mean, I don't think it's really a defensible play any other way, right? Here's Click in combat. It is going to take a look at Zan's hand. I mean, Zan is just loaded up for this matchup. Choke 2 green Sun Zenith. Which one do you want to take, Jerry?
And it's funny. So Zan's been taking these very conservative lines. And it feels like every turn, like it just gets better and better for him anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
No, I think if I were to characterize Zan's playstyle with this deck in general, I would say deliberate.
Yep.
I think he takes things very slowly, doesn't force any action, and I think that's a good lesson if you're looking to pick up this deck. You just don't want to expose yourself. You don't want to make mistakes.
Do not go to a Magic event and expose yourself.
Well, good life advice in general from Craig Krampels there. I will second that. We do have our first result of the match, and it's coming from Roshan, taking down Ali Warfield. 2-0. Urza outcome defeats Jund Death Shadow. That Jund Death Shadow deck, a cool new addition to the modern format. I think maybe Matt Nass first popularizing it. I know Emma picked it up for a while, was playing with it, and Moto PTQs. Now we see Ali picking up Jund Death Shadow.
There's just so many powerful cards in Modern. We're just going to keep seeing these innovations that kind of bring, new archetypes in and out of the metagame.
Yeah, and Jerry draws his card for the turn, finds nothing that he likes, and is going to extend the hand. And that means the team of Zan, Syed, Roshan, Eapen, and Jeremy Bertariaoni will take down this match and advance to 5-0. Meanwhile, the team of Thompson, Warfield, and Prince are going to eat their first loss on the day. Still a lot of Magic left to be played for that team. Still able to put together a top 8 run if they can figure stuff out. I do think that Jerry just found his nightmare matchup there. If you think about the history of these Lands-style decks, and obviously this is an evolution of the Lands archetype, but it's got a lot of the same hallmarks. You're looking to do recursive things from your graveyard. You have this really grindy, long engine that you really want to set up. They have preyed on decks exactly like Jerry's for a very long time.
Yeah, Jerry's deck is never going to put pressure on the opponent, and his deck does not interact with lands very well.
Right.
So the combination of these two things just makes it very favorable when you show up with a lands strategy. Conversely, though,